This is Top Accolade Global News Updates. I am Sohibifa Jackridge. President Vladimir Putin warned the West on Wednesday Russia was technically ready for nuclear war, and if the US sent troops to Ukraine, it would be considered a significant escalation of the conflict. Putin, speaking just days before a March 15th to 17th election, which is certain to give him another 6 years in power, said the nuclear war scenario was not rushing up and he saw no need for the use of nuclear weapons in Ukraine. From a military technical point of view, we are of course ready, Putin, 71, told one television and news agency RIA in response to a question whether the country was really ready for a nuclear war. Putin said the US understood that if it deployed American troops on Russian territory or to Ukraine, Russia would treat the move as an intervention. In the US, there are enough specialists in the field of Russian-American relations and in the field of strategic restraints, said Putin, the ultimate decision maker and the world's biggest nuclear power. Putin's nuclear warning came alongside another offer for talks on Ukraine as part of a new post-Cold War demarcation of European security. The US say Putin is not ready for serious talks over Ukraine. The war in Ukraine has triggered the deepest crisis in Russia's relations with the West since the 1962 Cuban Missile Crisis, and Putin has warned several times the West risks provoking a nuclear war if it sends troops to fight in Ukraine. Putin sent tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine in February 2022, triggering full-scale war after 8 years of conflict in eastern Ukraine between Ukrainian forces on one side and pro-Russian Ukrainians and Russian proxies on the other. Britain's economy returned to growth in January after entering a shallow recession in the second half of 2023, offering some relief to Prime Minister Rishi Sunak ahead of an election expected this year, official data showed. Gross domestic product grew by 0.2% month-on-month, boosted by a rebound in retailing and house building after a fall of 0.1% in December. In line with economists' expectation in a poll, the economy picked up in January with strong growth in retail and wholesaling. Liz McKeown, a director at the Office for National Statistics, said construction also performed well, with house builders having a good month, having been subdued for much of the last year. However, it is too early to know for certain if the economy is no longer in recession. GDP shrank by 0.3% in the final quarter of 2023 and 0.1% in the quarter before, meeting the technical definition of recession widely used in Europe. Britain's economy has been very sluggish since its initial recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, beset by a surge in the cost of energy imports from Russia's invasion of Ukraine and more recently by high Bank of England interest rates. But with inflation at 4% in January, down from double-digit rates in March of last year and forecast to return to its 2% target soon. The squeeze in household spending is easing and the BOE is starting to consider when to cut interest rates. Sterling fell against the US dollar and euro shortly after the GDP figures were released and investors added to their bet of rates cut in June, although the first one is not fully priced in until August. German sportswear giant Adidas posted its first loss in more than 30 years in 2023 on Wednesday as CEO Bjorn Gulden works to turn the brand around after a messy breakup with rapper Kanye West. Adidas has been battling to right itself after it cut ties with West in October 2022, suspending sales of the highly profitable Yeezy sneaker line. In Gulden's first year in the role, he resumed sales of Yeezy sneakers to clear remaining stock while seeking to boost popular products like Samba and Gazelle shoes and improve relationship with retailers. Shares in Adidas have staged a recovery, outperforming Nike and Puma since he took over. Adidas said it expects its underlying business, excluding Yeezy, to improve in 2024 with double-digit growth in the second half. Shares in Adidas were flat at the open. It said its board would propose an unchanged dividend of €0.70, that is 0.7650 per share share on its 2023 performance despite posting a net loss of 58 million euros in its first since 1992. Adidas is gambling that it can claw back market share from rivals and even as consumers' overall appetite for sportswear declines. Nike last month said it would cut 2% of its total workforce, or more than 1,600 jobs, to reduce costs as demand weaken. Adidas has benefited from a trend for low-rise suede terrace sneakers like the Samba and Gazelle, and last year ramped up production. The trend helped footwear sales grow by 8% in the fourth quarter, while apparel sales fell 13%. Adidas sees sales this year falling in North America, its second biggest market, saying overstocks remain high. In China, it expects a stronger recovery with sales growing at a double-digit rate after an 8% increase in 2023. Toyota Motor agreed to give factory workers their biggest pay increase in 25 years on Wednesday, heightening expectations that bumper pay raises will give the central bank leeway to make a key policy shift next week. Toyota, Panasonic, Nippon Steel, and Nissan were among some of Japan's biggest names that agreed to fully incorporated meet union demands for pay hikes at annual wage negotiations that wrap on Wednesday. The talks, long defining future of the usually collaborative relationship between Japanese management and labor, are being closely watched this year as the pay increases are expected to help clear the way for the central bank to end its year-long policy of negative interest rates as early as next week. Toyota, the world's biggest car maker and traditionally a bellwether of the annual talks, said it agreed to the demands of monthly pay increases of as much as 28,440 yen, that is $193, and record bonus payments. Keeping with past practice, the company did not provide the percentage figure for the salary rise. Prime Minister Fumio Kishida had made putting an end to the year of meagre wage growth a top priority to jumpstart feeble consumers' spending. Japan's wage increases have kept well behind the average for the OECD grouping of rich countries. The Bank of Japan is also closely watching the results as a key data point in deciding when to end negative rates in place since 2016. The bank, which has stuck with massive stimulus and ultra-low rates for years, longer than other developed countries, in an attempt to revive a moribund economy, is set to hold its next policy setting meeting on March 18th to 19th. PwC Australia on Wednesday said it would cut an additional 329 jobs, part of a major restructuring that follows a national scandal in which a former partner leaked government tax plans. The headcount reduction is equivalent to about 5% of staff, and up to 37 partners will be accelerating their retirement over the next 9 months. This has been a very challenging and complex process, but an important one as we realign our business structure with our new long-term strategy, PwC Australia CEO Kevin Burris said in a statement. The job cuts come on top of 338 announced in November since the scandal broke in January 2023. PwC has also spun off its government consulting practice to private equity firm Agro Fund for $1 Australian, and 1,400 PwC Australian staff moved over to the new firm, which was renamed Sane Advisory. PwC, one of the biggest Big Four consultancy and auditing firms, said that where possible, people who had lost their jobs will be invited to apply for new roles created by the changes. There will be no freeze on hiring, and new partners will be appointed in July, it added. The company has been under fire after revelations that a former partner leaked government tax plans and used them to win work with global companies looking to restructure their Australian affairs. That is the size of Top Accolade Global News Updates. You can follow us on our social media platforms as displayed on your screen. Happy Wednesday.